And so when Jesus said this, he says this as he's leaving the temple, and he and his disciples, they go out from the temple to the Mount of Olives, which was just east of Jerusalem, down through the Kidron Valley and then up onto the Mount of Olives. From the Mount of Olives, they had a spectacular view of the temple and the city of Jerusalem. It says in verse 3, now as he sat on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately, saying, "Tell us, when will these things be? And what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age?" The disciples asked Jesus 3 questions. The first question is, tell us, when will these things be? Speaking of the destruction of Jerusalem and the temple. When will the temple be destroyed, stone by stone, and cast down? Luke's account of this says they also asked, what sign will there be when these things are about to take place? So they asked for a sign. The second question, what will be the sign of your coming, your second coming? And the third question, what will be the sign of the end of the age? And so the disciples asked 3 questions, and with each question they asked for a sign that that event is about to occur. What is the sign that will tell us the temple will be destroyed? What's the sign of your second coming? And what's the sign of the end of the age? Now, what is a sign? A sign communicates information. When you're driving down the highway, a sign communicates what's up ahead. Road work ahead. Rest area 1 mile. A sign communicates what is coming. The disciples want to know what signs will precede these 3 events so that they know that they're coming. What signs will precede the destruction of the temple and the second coming and the end of the age? Now, the first question regarding the destruction of the temple, when will these things be? Matthew doesn't record the answer that Jesus gave to that first question. Luke's account does record the answer. In Luke chapter 21, verse 20, Luke 21:20, Jesus said, "When you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, then know that its destruction is near." So that will be the sign that Jerusalem and the temple are about to be destroyed. The sign will be when Jerusalem is surrounded by an army. It's interesting, the story with that. Initially, the Roman army surrounded the city of Jerusalem in 66 AD, but then the Roman army had problems with their supply chain and supplying their soldiers, and so the Roman army briefly pulled back their army from around Jerusalem. The believers that were living in Jerusalem, knowing what Jesus said, that when you see an army surround Jerusalem, know that that's the sign that the destruction of Jerusalem is about to take place. The believers that were in Jerusalem at that time, when the Roman army pulled back, they all fled the city. And they went over to modern-day Jordan, and they stayed there. There were no Christians that were killed in the siege of Jerusalem, because they all took Jesus' words literally and believed what he said. And when they saw that army, and then when the army pulled back, it gave them a window to flee, and they fled over to Jordan, what we would say is Jordan today. And then after the siege of Jerusalem in 70 AD, the Roman army comes back, they destroy the city. After that, that group of Christians actually came back to Jerusalem and built a church there in Jerusalem. It's one of the oldest churches in the world. It's still there today. So Luke gives us the answer to this first question about the destruction of the temple. Jesus answers the question, what will be the sign of the end of the age, beginning in verse 4. Now, think back, if you will, to middle school and your middle school history class. Are you thinking about it? Don't fall asleep. But do you remember how we chop up history into a bunch of different ages? There's the Stone Age, the Bronze Age, the Iron Age, Age of Discovery, Scientific Age, Age of Revolution, Exploration Age, Industrial Age, Space Age, Information Age, and so on, and so on, and so on. We like to chop up our history into a bunch of little ages and define it by different ages. In the Jewish mind in Jesus' day, there are only two ages. There is this age and the Messianic age, or what the Bible calls this age and the age to come, which is the Messianic age, when Jesus Christ returns to the earth with power and great glory, and he rules over all of the earth, the Messianic age. When Christians pray the Lord's Prayer, they pray for this age to end and for the Messianic age to come. They pray, thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. They are praying for this age to end and the age to come to begin. Whether they realize it or not, they're praying for the Messianic age. So there are only two ages in history according to the Bible. There is this age that we're living in and the Messianic age when Christ returns. I like that. I like that there's just two ages. The Bible tells us that human history will not continue on forever, that one day Jesus will interrupt human history when he returns and establishes his kingdom here on the earth and rules over all the earth as King of kings and Lord of lords. This age will end and we'll enter into the Messianic age, and won't that be glorious, right? And we say, Maranatha, come Lord Jesus, right? Establish your kingdom.